Police probe into shooting incidents at Kaiching Estate continues. Spain's King Carlos to abdicate in favor of his son. And in the U.S., a political firestorm over a prisoner swap with the Taliban. Good evening. Spain's King Juan Carlos is stepping down after nearly 40 years on the throne, paving the way for his son to take over as head of the state. He was one of the world's most popular monarchs, but recent scandals took the gloss off that image. Still, he is credited with helping Spain make the transition from dictatorship to democracy in the 1970s and early 80s. Tony Sabine reports.
It's the end of an era for Spain, which announced today that King Juan Carlos was abdicating. It was left to Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy to break the news in a national broadcast. Rajoy did not say when the handover would happen because the government must now craft a law creating a legal mechanism for the abdication and for 46-year-old Crown Prince Felipe's assumption of the throne. Juan Carlos has been king since 1975. He oversaw his country's transition from dictatorship to democracy, but he has had repeated health problems in recent years. His popularity also dipped following a series of royal scandals, including an elephant shooting trip he took during Spain's financial crisis. He broke his right hip on the trip and had to be flown from Botswana back to Spain aboard a private jet. His image was also tarnished by the investigation of his son-in-law, who is suspected of embezzling large amounts in public contracts. Still, many also credit him for being a stabilizing force, as Spain emerged from decades of dictatorship under Franco. He endeared himself to many Spaniards, in large part by putting down an attempted military coup in 1981. He also earned the admiration of the people following the Madrid bomb attacks in 2004, when he comforted the families of the victims. As Spain's new democracy matured over the years, the king played a largely figurehead role, travelling the globe as an ambassador for the country. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
French authorities have arrested the man suspected of carrying out the shooting at Brussels Jewish Museum last month, which left 3 people dead. The 29-year-old is thought to have spent time fighting in Syria's civil war with rebels inspired by a militant version of Islam. When Mehdi Namouche was arrested in southern France, he had firearms, a large quantity of ammunition, and a video claiming responsibility for the attack in the Belgian capital. Authorities raised anti-terror alert levels as they searched for the attacker, but it was a customs inspection in the French city of Marseille that turned up Namouche as he arrived from Amsterdam.
The Obama administration is facing a political firestorm over its controversial prisoner swap with the Taliban. That deal involves the release of 1 U.S. soldier captured by insurgents in Afghanistan in exchange for 5 Taliban militants held by U.S. authorities at the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center. Obama's key staff defended their actions, saying they did it to free America's sole prisoner of war. Sergeant Bo Bergdahl is now at a U.S. military hospital in Germany where he's undergoing physical and psychological exams. While many are celebrating his release, given America's long-standing policy of never negotiating with terrorists, critics fear the devil's in the details over Bergdahl's release. After his 2009 capture, the Taliban was willing to free him in exchange for 5 Guantanamo Bay prisoners. 5 years later, it's clear the Taliban got its way. Its top leader, Mullah Omar, called it a great victory for the Taliban. Bergdahl's release was technically brokered by the Qatari government. Its foreign minister praised negotiators for what was described as work done for a humanitarian cause. But military officials say freeing the sole American prisoner of war came at the high cost of releasing 5 Taliban commanders. In secret documents obtained by WikiLeaks, the five are ranked as a high-risk threat to U.S. national security. In addition to risking soldiers' lives by negotiating with terrorists, U.S. lawmakers claim Obama broke the law by not informing them of the Taliban prisoner release. But Obama's key staff defended the president's decision.
Regardless of who may be holding an American prisoner of war, we must do our best to bring him or her back.
We have strongly supported an Afghan-led effort to come to an agreement with the Taliban. So maybe this will be a new opening that can produce an agreement.
From Idaho, Bergdahl's parents passed personal messages to their son.
We continue in our minute-by-minute prayers for you as you go through this healing process, and we praise God for your freedom.
To deal with his son's Taliban captivity, Bob Bergdahl immersed himself in the Taliban culture by growing a beard and learning the Pashto language. It remains a mystery why Sergeant Bergdahl wandered off his secure military outpost in Afghanistan 5 years ago. Perhaps his motive was explained in this father-to-son message.
I'm proud of how much you wanted to help the Afghan people and what you were willing to do to go to that length.
Firecrackers, street dancing, and a parade have marked the creation of India's newest state of Telangana. Indian lawmakers passed a bill early this year to carve the country's 29th state out of the southern states of Andhra Pradesh, despite strong resistance in Parliament. Supporters say the economic development of the landlocked Telangana region has been neglected in favor of the richer coastal areas of Andhra Pradesh. Hyderabad will remain the common capital of the two states for 10 years, after which Andhra Pradesh will develop a new capital city. Telangana will have a population of around 35 million across 10 districts. Police investigations continue tonight following the murder and suicide at Kai Ching Estate in Kai Tak. Neighbors of the alleged gunman say they're satisfied with the police's swift action. But lawmaker and former Secretary for Security Regina Ip said more police guidelines should have been issued to the media while the police was carrying out its operation. Stephanie Choi reports.
Chalk marks remain at the 21st floor lift lobby in Lokching House, where it's believed 43-year-old air conditioning mechanic Liu Kai-chung was shot and killed last Saturday evening. This afternoon, his family members arrived at the public housing block with paper offerings. Liu's neighbor said he saw someone lying at the elevator doors with 2 red spots on the left side of his chest. He said there wasn't much blood, but added he saw 3 bullet casings on the floor. After the Saturday night murder, police stayed on to investigate. On Sunday, they engaged in a shootout with the alleged gunman, 51-year-old Lee Tak-yan, who lived on the 10th floor. The police later found 2 guns in Lee's 10th floor apartment. A gun expert said one of the weapons was used by the People's Liberation Army back in the 1950s and isn't in use anymore. He suspects the alleged gunman bought the firearm from the black market on the mainland and disassembled it before bringing the parts into Hong Kong. This morning, the police continued to cordon off the 2 units on the 10th and 21st floors for further investigation. They also questioned people who were getting off on those 2 floors. 10th floor residents said they received calls from the police on Sunday telling them to stay in their flats. They praised the police for their swift action. But lawmaker Regina Ip, who used to be the security secretary, said the police should have issued guidelines for the media. She explained the media's live broadcast of Sunday's shootout was reminiscent of the Manila bus hostage tragedy, during which a local live broadcast was blamed for the botched rescue operation.
If the suspect could find out what the police were doing from TV broadcasts, the situation could become very dangerous.
In 2011, Lee Tak-yan, the murder suspect in the Kai Ching Estate shootout, lived alone at the temporary housing estate in Yuen Long. The following year, he wounded a man with a knife over a noise problem. A psychological assessment revealed Lee was lonely and could not handle stress well. He was jailed for a year. A resident living at the same temporary housing estate said Lee kept to himself and seldom greeted neighbors. After getting out of prison, he stayed at Kai Ching Estate until he killed himself on Sunday. Secretary for Labour and Welfare Matthew Chung said the government will be providing counselling services to residents of Kai Ching Estate. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
Still to come in our news tonight, cigarettes being sold at unusually low prices by some vendors. Dragon boat races in different parts of Hong Kong. And Qatar faces fresh scrutiny over World Cup bid allegations.
If you think 622 horsepower sounds awesome,
this is a serious car. I bet it doesn't know a single joke.
Imagine what 739 horsepower would sound like.
It is as quiet as a library for church mice.
Tonight, Top Gear at 9:35 on Pearl.
I'm really excited.
I can see that.
I could tell that you didn't really remember Jennifer. When I told her I was going to be working at 51, she warned me about you.
Unbelievable! A baby isn't an afterthought, Kelly.
I know that.
Do you?
Wednesday, Chicago Fire at 10:40 on Pearl.
Listen to this. Dyson Cool fans house a Helmholtz cavity, which captures noise from the motor. And with air multiplier technology, they still project powerful airflow, but they're up to 75% quieter than before.
The selection of the chief executive by universal suffrage in 2017 will be a milestone in Hong Kong's constitutional development.
According to Article 45 of the Basic Law, a broadly representative nominating committee will nominate candidates. Then all voters will elect the chief executive through one person, one vote. Finally, there is appointment by the Central People's Government.
Following these steps, we can all elect our chief executive in 2017.
Monsoons that cause rivers to rise by 4 meters.
A few weeks ago, this was dry land. Coatis running across it. Now it's covered in water, as far as the eye can see.
And surviving the lights of death. Tuesday, Wingxing Photo Supply's 40th anniversary presents Wild Brazil at 9:30 on Pearl Spectacular.
We are back with more local news. Although the tobacco duty now stands at $38 per pack of cigarettes, sales strategies by manufacturers are allowing vendors to sell cigarettes below average market prices and still make a profit. Our Joao da Silva explains how.
The tax hike from $34 to $38 per pack of cigarettes was introduced by the government in March in an effort to persuade smokers to quit. But some tobacco suppliers have found a way to circumvent this. Indeed, we found a number of street vendors in Hong Kong who are selling strangely cheap cigarettes. This one told TVB that he doesn't know the country of origin of these unusually cheap cigarettes, which he is selling for a mere $38 a pack. When asked how he was able to sell them for such a low price, he said it's because he got a good deal from the supplier. He added that many people have been buying them since he started selling them 2 to 3 months ago. TVB found 2 other stores nearby where vendors were selling the same cigarettes for equally low prices. One claimed the cigarettes were imported from the US. Since the tobacco duty last went up in March, the average over-the-counter price for a pack of cigarettes is $55. Vendors pocket around $3 per pack, but their profit margin increases with these extremely cheap cigarettes. TVB found out the reason why they are being sold so cheap. It's because when vendors purchase a $420 carton containing 10 packs, the supplier is throwing in 3 packs of cigarettes for free. That means the vendor is in fact paying $32 per pack instead of the $42 he would pay without this promotion. In the end, if vendors sell these cigarettes for $40 a pack, they will stand to pocket $7.07 per sale. One supplier contacted by TVB claimed that even though it was losing money, this was a sales strategy to promote a new brand. The Customs and Excise Department is looking into the issue. Customs officers think the cheap cigarettes are actually being imported from places like India, Laos and Indonesia, and they add that if vendors or suppliers claim otherwise, they could be violating the law. And the Hong Kong Council on Smoking and Health noted that although prices cannot be restricted since Hong Kong is a free market, authorities must make sure that such promotions are not violating laws restricting cigarette advertising. Shonda Silva, TVB News.
Dragon boat races were held in various parts of Hong Kong today to mark the Tuen Ng Festival. Our Vicky Kung with all the colorful details.
Time to get your clothes wet. The Tuen Ng Festival falls on the 5th day of the 5th lunar month. According to popular legend, the festival commemorates the death of Qu Yuan, a statesman and poet who drowned himself in a river in protest against what he saw as corrupt rule during China's Warring States period some 2,000 years ago. As local residents rushed to rescue him, they beat drums and threw dumplings into the river to keep the hungry fish away from Qu's body. The ritual lives on and has evolved into dragon boat races. In Sha Tin this morning, more than 100 teams took part in 23 competitions. Here comes the men's category.
I'm feeling really exciting, and we got the champion. I mean, we made it. We got the first one. Yay!
And ladies?
We really wanted to win this time, so we all worked really hard together at the same time.
So how's the result?
We came first.
Temperatures climbed up to some 33 degrees here, but crowds still gathered by the two sides of Shingmun River. Meanwhile, in Sai Kung, there were mixed categories where paddlers with physical disabilities raced on the same team with able-bodied athletes. Vicky Kung, TVB News.
Organizers of the 2022 World Cup are meeting with a senior lawyer who's been carrying out an investigation into allegations bribes were paid out to secure Qatar the rights to stage the tournament. As Tony Sabine reports, those allegations gained fresh momentum following a British newspaper report over the weekend.
More than a few eyebrows were raised when Qatar was awarded the right to host the 2022 World Cup. Now there are calls for football's world governing body FIFA to restage the vote following allegations a senior official with links to the Persian Gulf country paid out huge bribes in return for supporting Qatar's bid. Tournament organisers have strongly denied the allegations made in Britain's Sunday Times newspaper, adding they were getting legal advice on how to respond. But the paper is standing by its story. It says it has lots of evidence ranging from emails, account details and other documents which show Qatari national Mohammed bin Hammam allegedly paid up to $5 million to football officials worldwide. Organisers of the Qatar tournament are due to meet investigator Michael Garcia, who's been carrying out a long-running inquiry into the 2022 bid, as well as the vote for the 2018 event.
Michael Garcia, who is doing an investigation already, an independent lawyer from New York, who's doing an investigation into what happened in the bidding for the 2022 World Cup. So clearly he should take on board all this evidence that is in today's Sunday Times.
Bin Hammam was a member of FIFA's executive committee for 16 years and a key power broker until being expelled in 2012 for financial corruption during his time as Asian Football Confederation president. The Qatar 2022 organising committee has stressed that Bin Hammam played no official or unofficial role in the bid committee. However, most of the FIFA executives who voted on which country would stage the 2022 event were Bin Hammam's longtime colleagues. Tony Sabine, TVB News.
All right, Chris, over to you for some sport.
We're still on the clay in France, and a shock exit for Roger Federer at the French Open. The 17-time Grand Slam winner fell to Latvia's Ernest Gulbis in the third round. Gulbis prevailed in 5 sets, and the score in the decider was 6-3. Federer, a winner on the Paris clay back in 2009, made 59 unforced errors in the match. The loss snapped Federer's streak of 9 straight quarterfinal appearances at Roland Garros.
After the chance in the second set.
Now in the National Hockey League playoffs, the LA Kings advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals after beating the Chicago Blackhawks in a Game 7 thriller. Alec Martinez scored in overtime to give the Kings the 5-4 win. LA improved to 7-0 in elimination games this postseason. The Kings also became the first team to play 21 games, that's the maximum, in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs and qualify for the NHL Finals. They'll host the New York Rangers in Game 1 on Wednesday night. Now closer to home, another successful boxing event was staged this past weekend in Macau. Filipino fighter Nonito Donaire added another title to his CV, while local boxer Rec So continued his march toward a world championship. Our Jameson Wong was in Macau and has the highlights.
It was not an easy night for the two fighters. Most of the sellout crowd of 8,000 came to see. Headliner Nonito Donaire suffered a cut from a headbutt in the first round in his bout with WBA featherweight champion Simpiwi Vetyeka and couldn't see out of one of his eyes by the 5th. The fight went to the scorecards and Donaire won by unanimous decision. It's his 5th world title and could put him back among the elite pound-for-pound boxers. Meanwhile, Hong Kong's Rec So recovered from 2 knockdowns to score a unanimous 10-round decision over Thailand's Ratchasak Kothyetjim. So improved his record to 13-0 and retained his WBO Asia Pacific Junior Bantamweight title. The Wonder Kid, despite a shaky performance, could be back in the ring in less than 2 months. Meanwhile, the night's other big winner, the organizers. They staged a successful event without the Pac-Man or a Chinese fighter at the top of the card. And Top Rank Boxing in Chan's China told me they aren't done for the year. In July, China's Olympic hero Zhou Shiming continues his road to a possible professional world title, while November 23rd is the date set for Manny Pacquiao's return to Macau. An opponent is yet to be announced.
This caliber of boxing, this level of presentation, this level of professionalism has never existed here before. So part of what we do is sort of grandstanding when you have a global audience like Pacquiao, but part of it is grassroots and building some commercial viability here in Macau, southern China, and Hong Kong.
Tracy said overtaking Las Vegas is not the goal, but added championship boxing is here and here to stay. In Macau, Jameson Wong, TVB News.
And now to another story in our series of previews before the World Cup kicks off this month. While some simply want to be in Brazil as a fan, parents here in Hong Kong have bigger aspirations. They're enrolling their kids in soccer schools in the hope they can improve their game. Evelina Lung tells us more.
The World Cup hype continues. Here in Hong Kong, a business has set up football classes for 3-year-olds. However, it's not easy for these toddlers who've just learned how to walk. Coach Lam says the children will learn how to kick, pass and shoot the ball. Lam pointed out learning how to play from a very young age has its advantages. For example, it's easy to correct the toddler's form, and this could help with the child's development in different sports in future. Although these parents give their kids a chance to learn the sport, it doesn't mean all of them, like this parent here, will